Charlie Chaplin, the name alone evokes images of the silent film era, of a man who, despite the absence of words, could make entire audiences burst into laughter with just a look or a gesture. His character, the tramp, became a global symbol of resilience, humor, and a unique form of storytelling. But despite his long and influential career, the question of how he passed away remains shrouded in some mystery, especially considering the intrigue that often surrounds the deaths of cultural icons. Chaplin's death on December 25, 1977, was met with sadness and a sense of finality. But was it really the end of his remarkable journey, or were there whispers of something more to it? This video seeks to explore the truth behind Charlie Chaplin's death, the circumstances surrounding it, and the various rumors that arose in the years following his passing. Before diving deeper into the details of his life and death, we'd love to know where you're watching from. Drop a comment below telling us your location, and don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more fascinating stories from the world of cinema. Let's take a journey back in time and unravel the mystery of Chaplin's last days. Born in 1889 in London, Charlie Chaplin's life was far from ordinary. From a young age, he showed an incredible ability to make people laugh, even during the most challenging circumstances. Raised in poverty and spending some time in orphanages, Chaplin's early years were filled with hardship, but it was within these struggles that he discovered his passion for performance. Chaplin first found success as a performer in London's music halls before making his way to the United States in 1910. It didn't take long before he was noticed by the film industry. In 1914, he signed with Keystone Studios, where he began developing his iconic tramp character. This character, with his bowler hat, mustache, and cane, quickly became a symbol of resilience and innocence, and Chaplin's performances transcended language barriers. As silent film flourished in the 1910s and 1920s, Chaplin's films were some of the most popular worldwide. Despite his success, Chaplin's life was not without controversy. His personal life, too, became the subject of public scrutiny. His marriages, especially to young actresses, generated gossip and scandal. But despite the media's focus on his personal life, Chaplin's work always spoke louder than any headlines. His films like City Lights, 1931, and Modern Times, 1936, became timeless classics, exploring themes of social justice, inequality, and the human condition. Yet, as he reached the peak of his career, the political climate in the United States began to turn against him. During the Red Scare in the 1940s, Chaplin's political views, particularly his outspoken stance against fascism and his sympathy for left-wing causes, led to his being labeled a communist sympathizer. The pressure mounted, and in 1952, during a trip to Europe, Chaplin was informed that he would not be allowed to return to the United States. This marked the end of an era for the man who had once been one of the most beloved figures in American entertainment. Forced into exile, Chaplin relocated to Switzerland, where he spent his later years away from the limelight, but still continuing to create. Though he was no longer the global sensation he once was, his influence on cinema remained undeniable. He made one final film, A Countess from Hong Kong, 1967, which would mark his last cinematic venture before stepping away from filmmaking. But as Chaplin entered his twilight years, it wasn't just his career that was winding down. His health was also beginning to show signs of decline. The man who had once been the epitome of vitality now faced the challenges of aging, and this would soon lead to a fateful day. In the years leading up to his death, Charlie Chaplin's life was characterized by a quiet, reclusive existence. After being exiled from the United States, he settled in Coursier-sur-Vevey, a small town in Switzerland where he lived with his fourth wife, Una O'Neill, and their children. This tranquil setting was a stark contrast to the whirlwind of fame and scandal that had surrounded him during his earlier years. Chaplin's health, however, was beginning to fail him. In the 1970s, he had started to experience increasing difficulty with his heart, and it was clear that his age was catching up with him. By the time he was in his late 80s, his once boundless energy had waned. The man who had made his living out of physical comedy and acrobatic stunts was now, like so many others, struggling with the frailties of old age. Although Chaplin had stepped away from filmmaking, he remained active in the art world, reflecting on his career and legacy. He was awarded an honorary Academy Award in 1972, and their recognition was a fitting tribute to his immense contributions to the world of cinema. This ceremony, held in Los Angeles, marked a rare public appearance for Chaplin in his final years. The applause he received from the crowd was a testament to the admiration he still commanded, even in his advanced age. But it was not just his physical health that was deteriorating. The mental and emotional toll of his later years was evident, particularly in the wake of the loss of some of his closest friends. Chaplin's sense of isolation grew, and while he had his family, he still faced the weight of a life spent under intense public scrutiny. It was on Christmas Day, December 25, 1977, that Chaplin's life would come to an end. He died peacefully in his sleep at the age of 88. His death, while expected given his age and health, still sent shockwaves through the world. For many, it marked the end of an era, a time when the silver screen was dominated by the man who had redefined the boundaries of comedy and film. Though his passing was not entirely unexpected, the manner in which he died, a peaceful sleep in his own home, surrounded by family, seemed fitting for someone who had spent much of his life bringing joy to the world. There was no dramatic farewell, no grand event to mark his departure. It was simply the end of a life well lived. Charlie Chaplin passed away quietly on December 25, 1977. His death was peaceful, occurring in his sleep at his home in Coursier-sur-Vevey, Switzerland. At 88 years old, Chaplin had lived a long life, one that spanned a transformative period in cinema and culture. While his passing was not entirely unexpected, given his age and deteriorating health, the loss was still deeply felt by fans in the film industry worldwide. Chaplin's official cause of death was a heart attack. It was a natural death for a man of his age, and doctors confirmed this after examining his body. It is important to note that Chaplin had suffered from a variety of health issues in his later years, including heart problems. For someone who had spent so much of his life performing physically demanding routines, it was a sobering reminder of how time had taken its toll. Though his passing was a relief for a man who had endured the struggles of old age, it still felt like the world had lost one of its greatest cinematic treasures. Chaplin's death was met with tributes and mourning from around the world. Film. Fans, critics, and the general public expressed their sorrow at the passing of an icon. His influence on the world of cinema was unparalleled, and he was remembered not only for his comedy, but also for his ability to tackle social and political issues with humor and grace. Many admired him for using his fame to draw attention to issues such as poverty, industrialization, and the plight of the working class, subjects that were especially relevant during the time he made his most famous films. The news of Chaplin's death was covered widely in the media, with many outlets paying tribute to his life and work. As was typical of someone of his stature, there was a sense of finality in his death, an understanding that the world had just lost one of its greatest artists. But there was also a recognition that his legacy would live on, not just in the films he made, but in the cultural impact he had on the world. However, even after Chaplin's death, the intrigue surrounding his life and passing did not cease. Over the years, many rumors and theories have circulated about the circumstances of his death, sparking debates and discussions among fans, historians, and even conspiracy theorists. While the official cause of death was clear, the rumors about Chaplin's final days would continue to stir curiosity for decades to come. With the passing of a cultural icon like Charlie Chaplin, it's not surprising that a number of rumors and conspiracy theories quickly surfaced. For many, it seemed almost impossible to accept that such a larger-than-life figure had simply died of natural causes. As is often the case with famous personalities, when answers aren't readily available, speculation takes its place. In the years following Chaplin's death, several theories emerged that sought to explain what happened on that quiet Christmas morning in 1977. One of the most persistent rumors was that Chaplin had been poisoned. This theory was fueled by the fact that Chaplin, having lived through so many turbulent political times, had made enemies throughout his life. His outspoken political views and controversies, especially his alleged communist sympathies, had already led to significant challenges during his life, particularly his exile from the United States. Some believed that these political enemies, seeing Chaplin as a symbol of defiance, might have taken matters into their own hands. However, there is no concrete evidence to support the idea that Chaplin's death was anything other than natural. The official cause of death was confirmed as a heart attack, and no signs of foul play were found. Medical experts have since refuted the theory of poisoning, pointing to Chaplin's known heart condition and his age as the primary contributors to his passing. Yet, the idea of Chaplin being taken out by a shadowy political force remains a tantalizing notion for some. Another theory that gained traction in the years after Chaplin's death was the idea that he had not truly died at all, that he had somehow faked his death and was living in secret. This theory posited that Chaplin, feeling overwhelmed by the pressures of fame and his controversial life, had staged his own death as a way to escape public scrutiny. Some even speculated that he had gone into hiding, continuing to live in seclusion, under a different identity. While this idea is certainly dramatic, it lacks any real evidence. Those close to Chaplin, including his family and friends, have always maintained that his death was genuine. Furthermore, no credible sightings of Chaplin after his death have ever been reported. This theory, like many before it, is largely based on a desire for more intrigue and mystery surrounding a figure whose life was already filled with drama. The idea of Chaplin's faked death offers an exciting narrative, but in all likelihood it is simply another case of wishful thinking. Perhaps the most bizarre theory that arose after Chaplin's death was one of reincarnation. According to this theory, Charlie Chaplin did not truly die, but instead underwent a form of reincarnation, returning to the world in a new body. This theory gained some traction due to the timing of Chaplin's death, which some believed coincided with the rise of a new mysterious individual who embodied the spirit of Chaplin's comedic genius. Proponents of this theory suggested that Chaplin's essence had been reborn and his legacy lived on in someone else. Of course, reincarnation is a highly speculative and controversial concept, and there is no evidence to support it. Like many of the other rumors surrounding Chaplin's death, it appears to be an attempt to keep his legacy alive in an extraordinary way, by suggesting that his spirit couldn't possibly be extinguished. However, as interesting as it might sound, reincarnation remains in the realm of myth, not fact. Despite the allure of these theories, there is little to suggest that Chaplin's death was anything other than the natural result of aging and heart disease. Doctors and specialists who examined Chaplin's case agreed that his heart attack was a tragic but expected outcome, considering his health problems and advanced age. In the end, the idea that Chaplin was taken from the world in some mysterious or conspiratorial manner is unlikely. His death was, in fact, the natural end to a life that had already defied all odds. Charlie Chaplin's legacy, despite the controversies surrounding his life and death, remains one of the most influential in the history of cinema. Chaplin's films continue to resonate with audiences generations after their release. His ability to use humor to comment on serious social issues, poverty, class struggles, and the human condition, remains as relevant today as it was in his time. Chaplin's influence is not just confined to the silent film era, but has extended far beyond it. His pioneering work in the development of film comedy laid the foundation for many filmmakers and comedians who followed. Directors like Woody Allen, Tim Burton, and even modern stand-up comedians cite Chaplin as an inspiration for their own work. The tramp character, with his universal appeal and timeless charm, has cemented Chaplin as a figure whose legacy transcends the medium of film. Beyond his technical achievements in filmmaking, Chaplin was also a master of social commentary. His films such as Modern Times, 1936, and The Great Dictator, 1940, are filled with satire that critiques social, political, and economic systems. Modern Times is often hailed as a masterpiece that critiques the dehumanizing effects of industrialization and the struggle of the working class. The Great Dictator, released during the height of World War II, boldly criticized fascism, Adolf Hitler, and the political climate of the time. Chaplin's courage to use his platform to speak out on global issues made him not only an entertainer, but also an activist. His impact on the film industry extended beyond his acting and directing skills. He was also a composer, producing scores for many of his films. In fact, he is one of the few filmmakers to have had complete control over almost every aspect of his films, from the story to the score. This artistic control is rare even today, and it allowed Chaplin to create films that were deeply personal, while also reflecting universal themes. Even as Chaplin's career wound down in his later years, his contributions were recognized. In 1972, after spending nearly 2 decades in exile, Chaplin was awarded an honorary Academy Award in recognition of his unparalleled contributions to the world of cinema. The emotional standing ovation he received at the ceremony in Los Angeles was a testament to the deep respect and admiration the world still held for him. Chaplin's impact wasn't only limited to the film industry. His work inspired countless social movements, and his character, the Tramp, continues to symbolize resilience in the face of adversity. In many ways, Chaplin's own life mirrored the themes he explored in his films: his rise from poverty to fame, his experiences with hardship, and his ability to overcome personal challenges. Moreover, Chaplin's films remain integral to film studies. Universities and film schools around the world continue to study his work as essential texts in understanding the development of cinema. His influence can be seen in everything from slapstick, comedy to modern visual storytelling, and his contributions have shaped both the history and future of filmmaking. In a world increasingly dominated by CGI-heavy blockbusters, Chaplin's work serves as a reminder of the power of simplicity and human connection in cinema. His films, often devoid of dialogue, rely on the universality of visual storytelling to communicate deep emotions and complex social messages. Chaplin's ability to make people laugh while simultaneously making them think is a rare gift, and it's one that has ensured his place in the pantheon of the greatest filmmakers in history. Charlie Chaplin's contributions to cinema were not confined to his era. His impact is still felt in nearly every genre and aspect of filmmaking today. As a trailblazer, he revolutionized visual storytelling, influencing countless filmmakers across generations. Chaplin's unique blend of physical comedy, pathos, and social commentary created a blueprint for future films, and his influence continues to resonate. One area where Chaplin's influence is most clearly seen is in the field of silent film. Although the silent era is long past, Chaplin's work remains the benchmark for what silent film can achieve. Modern filmmakers who rely heavily on visuals, like Wes Anderson, Quentin Tarantino, and the Coen brothers, often draw inspiration from Chaplin's ability to tell a story through expressive gestures and movements rather than dialogue. His emphasis on physicality in acting, an essential trait in silent film, was a skill that Chaplin mastered like no other. The ability to convey profound emotion with just a glance or a gesture set Chaplin apart from his contemporaries. Even in today's world of digital effects, Chaplin's emphasis on real human emotion, empathy, and storytelling through actions still reverberates. His influence can be seen in the works of modern animators, especially in the realm of animated films. Movies like WALL-E 2008, which feature very little dialogue and rely heavily on expressive body language to tell the story, are indebted to Chaplin's pioneering use of silence to convey emotion. The Iron Giant, 1999, is another example of how Chaplin's approach to animation, using minimal words and emphasizing the emotional depth of characters through gesture and expression, still resonates with audiences today. Furthermore, Chaplin's influence extended beyond comedy into drama and social issues. His films often tackled controversial subjects, and his willingness to criticize the establishment, corporations, and social systems laid the foundation for filmmakers who were unafraid to address political themes in their work. Directors like Martin Scorsese, who has tackled themes of societal corruption and injustice in films like Taxi Driver, 1976, and Goodfellas, 1990, echo Chaplin's courage in addressing pressing social issues through the lens of film. Similarly, filmmakers like Spike Lee, who explores racial inequality and social injustice in films such as Do the Right Thing, 1989, and Black Klansman, 2018, continue Chaplin's legacy of using film as a powerful tool for social change. Chaplin's unique ability to combine humor with serious, even tragic themes is also seen in modern dark comedies. His masterful use of satire to comment on the world around him can be found in contemporary films that balance humor with poignant, often uncomfortable truths. Filmmakers such as Alexander Payne, Sideways 2004, and Todd Solondz, Happiness 1998, take a similar approach, blending comedy with sharp critiques of society, often exposing the darker undercurrents of modern life. Additionally, Chaplin's cinematic innovation laid the groundwork for the modern music score in films. He was not just an actor and director, but also a composer, scoring many of his own films. His ability to create music that seamlessly complemented his scenes, adding depth, emotion, and nuance, was revolutionary at the time. The music in City Lights 1931 and The Gold Rush 1925 added to the emotional power of the scenes, creating a deeper connection between the audience and the characters. This holistic approach to filmmaking, where every element, from acting to music to cinematography, worked in tandem, set the bar for future filmmakers and composers, including John Williams, Ennio Morricone, and Hans Zimmer, whose iconic film scores continue to shape the way we experience movies today. Even the art of filmmaking itself, the structure, pacing, and framing of a movie, was profoundly impacted by Chaplin. His films, especially in the silent era, demonstrated the power of visual storytelling and how a well-crafted image can convey meaning without the need for words. His use of physical comedy was not merely about generating laughs, it was about creating an emotional experience through timing, framing, and context. This influence can be traced through contemporary action sequences, especially in filmmakers like Christopher Nolan, Inception 2010, or the directors of superhero blockbusters, where intricate choreography and visual storytelling have taken center stage. Moreover, Chaplin's persistence as an independent filmmaker has also inspired modern directors who have sought to maintain creative control over their work. Directors like Steven Spielberg and Ridley Scott, who have built their careers in Hollywood, still admire Chaplin's ability to operate independently without the backing of major studios. Chaplin's path as a self-made artist who controlled all aspects of his productions remains an enduring example of artistic freedom and personal vision. After Charlie Chaplin's death in 1977, the world not only mourned the loss of a cinematic legend but also became fascinated by the location where he would ultimately rest. As one of the most famous figures of the 20th century, Chaplin's passing sparked public curiosity, not only about the details of his death, but also about his final resting place. As with many great figures, his burial and the circumstances surrounding it became part of the mystery that enveloped his life. Charlie Chaplin was buried in a private ceremony at the Coursier-sur-Vevey cemetery in Switzerland near his home. He was laid to rest beside his beloved wife, Una O'Neill, and their children. Chaplin had lived in Coursier for over 2 decades, having settled there in the 1950s after his exile from the United States. The Swiss town provided him with a peaceful and quiet life away from the limelight, and it seemed fitting that this would be his final resting place. However, shortly after Chaplin's funeral, an event occurred that would add another layer of intrigue to his death. In a bizarre and shocking turn of events, Chaplin's body was stolen from its grave in 1978 by 2 Eastern European criminals who had hoped to extort money from his widow, Una O'Neill. The grave robbers believed they could ransom Chaplin's body back to the family for a large sum. The news of the theft sent shockwaves through the world and left many questioning the motives behind such an audacious act. The thieves' plan was quickly thwarted when the Swiss authorities, working in collaboration with Chaplin's family, managed to track down and recover his body after a brief period of time. It was ultimately returned to its original resting place in the Coursier-sur-Vevey cemetery. The bizarre theft, though unsettling, did little to diminish Chaplin's reputation. Instead, it only fueled further interest in the legend of Charlie Chaplin, his death, his burial, and the mysterious events that followed. Despite the disturbing theft, Chaplin's grave became a site of pilgrimage for fans and admirers of his work. Over the years, Many have visited Coursier-sur-Vevey to pay their respects to the man who had so profoundly impacted cinema and culture. Chaplin's tombstone, a simple but elegant marker, serves as a tribute to his life and legacy. The grave, itself now protected and guarded, remains a place where people continue to gather, reflecting on the man who brought joy to millions across the world. The events surrounding Chaplin's grave theft added a strange chapter to the story of his death, further adding to the mystique that surrounds his life. His influence continues to grow even after his passing, and the interest in his legacy shows no signs of waning. To this day, Chaplin's work continues to inspire new generations of filmmakers, actors, and fans, proving that his legacy is far from being buried with him. As for the body snatchers, they were eventually apprehended and brought to justice. Chaplin's family, though understandably shaken by the incident, chose to continue living their lives in peace, honoring his memory and keeping his legacy intact. The strange episode with his grave merely became another bizarre footnote in a life that had already been filled with its fair share of surprises. Despite the unusual events surrounding his death and the decades that have passed, Charlie Chaplin's place in the pantheon of cinematic history remains undiminished. The world that he left behind has continued to evolve, yet his influence on both the art of filmmaking and the broader cultural landscape is as powerful today as it was when he first graced the screen. Chaplin's films remain timeless classics, continuing to inspire and entertain generations of viewers, while his legacy as one of the greatest filmmakers in history is secure. Charlie Chaplin's significance lies not just in his ability to make people laugh, but in his skill at creating works of art that are deeply human, touching upon themes of struggle, resilience, and the pursuit of joy in the face of adversity. His contributions to cinema transcended mere entertainment. Chaplin used film as a means to address pressing social issues and convey powerful messages about humanity. This rare blend of artistry and activism has kept his work relevant for audiences who continue to look to his films for both comfort and reflection. In addition to the films themselves, Chaplin's iconic character, the Tramp, continues to captivate new generations. The Tramp is one of cinema's most enduring characters, embodying a spirit of optimism and resilience despite overwhelming odds. His iconic walk, tattered clothes, and signature mustache have become symbols of humor, empathy, and universal appeal. The character, born out of Chaplin's creativity and wit, serves as a reminder of the enduring power of simplicity and human connection in the art of film. Chaplin's films, particularly those from his peak years in the 1920s and 1930s, such as The Kid, 1921, City Lights, 1931, and Modern Times, 1936, remain central to the study of film history. These films are frequently analyzed in film schools and universities, where students learn not only about the technical aspects of filmmaking, but also about how to tell powerful, meaningful stories. Chaplin's technical innovations, including his groundbreaking use of close-ups, visual gags, and the seamless integration of music into his films, continue to influence filmmakers working in every genre today. Chaplin's resilience in the face of adversity, both in his personal life and professional career, also serves as an inspiration. He faced public scrutiny, political exile, personal heartbreak, and numerous obstacles throughout his life, yet his ability to overcome these challenges and continue creating art was a testament to his indomitable spirit. For many, Chaplin represents the ultimate triumph of the human spirit, a man who, despite the odds, used his talent and perseverance to shape the world around him. Chaplin's personal life, though marked by controversy and personal struggles, also adds layers of complexity to his legacy. His political views, especially during the McCarthy era, his exile from the United States, and his tumultuous relationships all serve to make him a figure of both admiration and debate. However, it is precisely these complexities that make Chaplin's life and work so fascinating and enduring. His ability to weave his personal experiences into his films, creating works of art that reflect both the joy and sadness of the human experience, has ensured that his legacy remains relevant and multifaceted. In the decades following his death, Chaplin's influence on the world of cinema and culture has only grown, Film festivals, retrospectives, and screenings of his work continue to celebrate his genius. His name remains synonymous with excellence in film, and new generations of filmmakers and actors look to him as a benchmark of creativity, technical skill, and storytelling mastery. The ongoing popularity of Chaplin's films, even in an age dominated by high-tech visual effects and CGI, speaks to the enduring power of his artistry, a power that transcends time and technology. Chaplin's impact goes beyond film. His work shaped the very way we view the world, emphasizing the importance of compassion, humor, and resilience. He remains an icon not just of comedy, but of humanity itself, and while his body may have been laid to rest in the peaceful Swiss countryside, his legacy continues to live on in the laughter of audiences, the inspiration of filmmakers, and the memory of a man who changed the course of cinema forever.